Hawaii time.
I learned a new word,
Yes.
apophatic.
Oh, what does that mean?
Due to God's unknowability, Maimonides argued that the only way to describe God is by what he is not.
Oh,
All positive affirmations are considered anthropomorphic and therefore inaccurate. So I guess apophatic theology means that.
Interesting.
I learned something that I knew, but I didn't really ever realize it, that in Genesis, the second word in Hebrew is bara, bereshit bara. In the beginning, God created. And the word bara is not used in any other context other than God created.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. Knowledge of God obtained through negation, apophatic.
oh, there's Marshall.
Hi.
Hi.
Marshall? Oh my gosh.
Hi.
Now we know Sherry's big secret. Her background is not where she's always sitting. Sherry Berman uses your same background, Marshall.
Sorry.
Sherry, one of our members, uses your same background. I'm going to rename you if that's okay.
Okay.
Is Parrish your last name too?
No, mine is Bland.
That's right.
My
I know
wife
that.
has a different last name.
Okay.
I kept my maiden name.
I actually knew that because when you logged on last time, I remembered you were Marshall Bland. But anyhow, we just had a little.
Actually, while I am Bland, I spell it Blann. So I came up Bland, which is true, but
Wait, how do you spell it? Ballnn. Sorry.
Blann.
Okay.
But it's close enough for government work.
No.
Okay.
Oh, wait. I know why I can't hear. I don't have my hearing aid in. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Looks like even for a Hawaiian group, we are able to start pretty much on time. Is there anyone that we know of that is not here? I think we're good. Sarah's here, Ruth Ellen, are people from overseas?
I don't know if Marilyn's coming.
I don't know either.
She came last time.
I sent her the hookup, but I don't know where my phone is either. I don't know. Oh, okay.
Okay.
I don't know. I'll text her.
Okay, thanks. Because we're starting with a story, so we can actually start and she won't miss much.
Why don't you put on the first slide and then the second slide, Ellen?
No, I'm doing it. Okay. Can everyone see the first slide?
Yes.
Okay.
101, God struggling.
All right. Today we're calling it God Struggling, which was Ruth Ellen's sort of the inspiration came from Ruth Ellen. Do you remember how you phrased it? Ruth Ellen, are you there?
She's not.
Oh. Oh. Okay, I'm going to stop the share for just a minute so I can see who's with us. Oh, it's Ruth here. I know Ruth Ellen is going to be here because she sent something. I don't know if she ended up sending it to the group. It came so late that it wasn't relevant to send it to the group. But she brought up this all-important concept, which at some point we all have to struggle with. Can you be a good Jew? Can you be a practicing Jew? Can you call yourself Jewish if you don't believe in God? So it turns out it's not a very original idea. And I will start us off with a story. Okay, I'm going back to,
You actually need to go to slides 1 and 2, Aviva.
okay. Okay.
Okay,
This one.
this is slide 2.
Yep. Okay. So here's a story. I don't know who to attribute it. I heard it from a Rabbi Micah Streifer in one of the classes I took with him. 2 rabbis who stayed up all night arguing about the existence and nature of God. They argued back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, bringing in source after source after source so they could truly understand God. By the end of the night, they had definitively disproven the existence of God. So the next morning, one rabbi wakes up, stretches, brushes his teeth, looks out the window, and sees the other rabbi walking out of the synagogue with his talit and tefillin bag under his arm. He runs out into the street. He says, "What are you doing? Were you praying? Didn't we just prove that there is no God?" The other rabbi looks at him right in the face and says, "What does that have to do with anything?"
Next slide, please.
Coming up. Okay. Jewish people have a wide spectrum of belief. Their views are individual, not collective. There's no specific set of beliefs required to be Jewish. Judaism is about what you do, not what you believe.
Comments?
Jew. Be Jewish then. Put on talit, right? Don't have to do that.
So then it's all about doing mitzvahs. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
And bringing holiness into the world, making a space for goodness. And the way to do that is by doing good deeds. So it doesn't matter if you believe in God or if you don't believe in God, or, as long as, but there is a set of rules and laws to live by. So, but basically, doesn't matter what you believe as long as you do the right thing. That's what I'm getting from it.
David?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've heard from a Western European point of view, there's been, and maybe it's from ancient Greece, the separation of thinking and doing. But I tend to think of it as, one and the same. Your doing is your being, is your thinking. It's all wrapped up together.
Alan?
I want to play a devil's advocate a little bit, but because what Sarah said is I think very powerful, that we're here to do good deeds. So how do we explain Jews who do bad deeds? How do we explain a Bernie Madoff or Kushner or others who have
Stephen Miller.
Stephen Miller, who've set out to do harm, or who by their intentions do harm? Are they not Jewish too? If you prick them, do they not bleed?
Oh,
Barry?
So, the question is, how could you're right and Sarah's right? So somebody should ask, how can they both be right? And then you say, of course, you're right too. My question is, who's asking the question? Is someone Jewish or not, who's asking the question? So if you want to emigrate to Israel, then somebody in Israel has to decide if you're Jewish or not. Were you converted by an Orthodox rabbi, by a Reform rabbi? Was your father Jewish, your mother wasn't? So who's asking? If you And then the other question is, well, that's the basic question. My perspective is closest to Sarah's, which would be actually the answer is, what does it mean to do Jewish? Because you are Jewish according to halacha if you're born of a Jewish mother. Father doesn't matter. That's it. Nothing else matters. But obviously there's a lot of other things.
Does anyone want to say anything before I? Craig, go ahead.
Yes. We all read the Haggadah on Passover, and we read about the four kinds of sons, and they run the gamut. But while it tells us how to respond, it never says that any of them are excommunicated or no longer Jewish. I don't think we do those things. And I'm thinking about even on the island, and we've all seen this on the mainland, whatever, Jews who have no Jewish training, no bar mitzvah, no whatever, but they look Jewish and they have a Jewish name. Maybe they changed their name, but they still look Jewish. And they get, in a lot of ways, the tourist that comes with being a Jew. And so our Black people, and those who said, well, is Barack Obama Black? Is he not? Well, how is he treated in society as a Black man? And a lot of people are treated as a Jew, whether they want anything to do with Judaism or not. So I do think it's a little idealistic what you posted. And I took a screenshot of it. I think it's beautiful and aspirational, but call me a skeptic too.
Okay, so we didn't post it as our opinion. In some way, we posted it as a get the conversation going. So I'm going to continue with something. Just a moment. Okay. Now, this is Martin Buber. Martin Buber was a very interesting character. I'm reading one paragraph out of Wikipedia. He was a Austrian-Israeli philosopher, best known for his philosophy of dialogue, a form of existentialism centered on the distinction between the I-thou relationship and the I-it relationship. That's all I'm going to say about him, because I just want to tell you a story, something that he's famous for a saying, and we can go back. Why did God create atheists? A rabbi is teaching his student the Talmud and explains that God created everything in this world to be appreciated, since everything is here to teach us a lesson. The clever student asks, what lesson can we learn from atheists? Why did God create them? The rabbi responds, God created atheists to teach us the most important lessons of them all, the lesson of true compassion. You see, when an atheist performs an act of charity, visits someone who is sick, helps someone who is in need, and cares for the world, he is not doing so because of some religious teaching. He does not believe that God commanded him to perform this act. In fact, he does not believe in God at all. So his acts are based on an inner sense of morality. Look at the kindness he can bestow upon others simply because he feels it to be right. This means, the rabbi continued, that when someone reaches out to you for help, you should never say, I pray that God will help you. Instead, for the moment, you should become an atheist. Imagine that there is no God who can help and simply say, I'll help you. And that's actually from Tales of Hasidism 2, Volume 2.
Good one.
And that's kind of a famous concept that how we started the conversation. Now, I'm just going to say one thing, and then I'm going to mute myself. Most of the denominations, other than the Orthodox denominations, have struggled with this concept and have actually tried over history in America, before America, to deal with this concept of, can you be a good Jew if you don't believe in God? And is it even an issue? Do you have to profess? Is it anybody's business? So the concept of that that Heather gave us a beautiful Dvar Torah on Saturday during Torah study, and we'll kind of have you recap a little bit of that. But the realization of what God is in Judaism is a very personal one. In our literature, in our prayers, we speak of God. God does not require us. There's nowhere in the Torah or the Tanakh anywhere where God says, you must profess belief in me. You must follow my commandments. Yeah, all the time. But you must profess a belief in me is not. So that's where I wanted to start the conversation and then see. I'm going to mute myself for quite a while, except for calling on people.
Don't you want to show the next slide before you mute yourself?
Oh, I didn't think the next one was relevant right
It's
now.
about atheists.
Sure. Okay. Oh, all right. Okay.
This is such a gnarly question, and I don't know if people are going to attack me because supposedly I'm the one who came up with the idea.
I'm willing to say, what the heck? You're saying that God doesn't want us to worship him?
I'm not saying anything like that at all.
Okay, but how is that different than belief in him? I mean,
I think the Martin Buber story is so clever because what it says is if you're having whatever's going on in your heart, your soul, whatever your life experience, what you do in your life is more important for two reasons. First of all, because it comes from a place, especially as Jews, it does come from a place of monotheism, one God, but it also leads to it. And that's what, while you're waiting to experience it.
The Shema. I mean, I don't know that much Hebrew, but they'll have to. You know what I mean? You shall bear this as a sign. You shall spread your worship children. Or are you saying just tell the story? You don't have to believe in them. Just tell the story. That's enough.
It's not about, so that what happens is if you have any doubts in your heart, you're still a Jew. You can't, there's no way to be excommunicated as a Jew. So in your life soul's journey, you are not actually ever, what's the term in English? You're not ever forsaken. That same God that you don't believe in doesn't forsake you.
Well, that's good, because I think a lot of people are turned off by an egotistical God that needs to be thanked all the time. And of course, I know this week's Torah portion because it was my oldest son's Torah portion, and that's how we got our name, Wrestling with God. But I bet that's part of the syllabus to come.
You are correct. As is the Shema and the Vahavta, by the way.
Good.
Yeah.
When I have helped friends put up mezuzot on their homes, and these friends were not entirely Jewish. Either it was a couple and one was Jewish and one wasn't, or the Jewish person was, the mother was one religion, the father was another religion. And so when I talk about the Shema to people like that, I do a little translation, Craig, and I will say, here I say, listen up, everyone. Godness is oneness. And I use that because I think that that's one of the most valuable aspects of believing in God, is that if we share that, that's something that we share with everybody or every Jew. To me, the most critical part of what to share is the oneness that we have with every other either Jew or every other person or every other sentient being or every other item, that we are one with a rock and a stone and we're one with a galaxy. And you get into quantum physics, but this concept of oneness, of connectivity, of consciousness being shared, all works. One way to work it is to say it's because of God. And when I've spoken to Hasidic Jews, they say, how can you do righteous things if you don't believe in God? So because there are righteous things. It's righteous to do that. And it's wrong to do something else, whether there's a God or not. God is sort of convenient if you believe. But if you also believe that we're all one, then you would believe, well, I don't want somebody to steal from me, so I'm not going to steal for them. Nobody should kill me, so I'm not going to kill anybody else. So it's that oneness that I treasure most. So there.
Go ahead, Ruth Ellen.
I'll try to pipe in because again, this kind of addresses what you said and Craig's retort to it or his feeling about it. And then I go back to what made me think of that question, which was months ago when Yehuda said the first time that I heard it, that he doesn't believe in God. Well, all this discussion right now is really addressing the relativity of trying to wrestle with this, with the limits of language. I talk about that again, and I tell you this Albert Einstein thing. I think I go with him. I'm going to read something of his, and so I'm sure there are people who don't believe in anything. Maybe they're nihilists. They're not really atheists. I think what we differ on is our definition of what God is, and that's why people take the Western view, the more primitive view, as Einstein would say. There's a little. Did you get this thing that I sent you? You probably didn't have time to read it. But
Yeah, I didn't have time to. It came right before I.
So as a word to the wise, it was very good that you sent that, but you didn't give us enough time to incorporate it. So anybody, as we continue to solicit outside input to include in each session, please give us the time to do it and get it into the session.
Well, I didn't know how this was going to go, and you had put in the thing, if I'm not pushing anybody to do homework, but if you want to, and then these are things like from way back, like I said, wait, and then I was going to try to explain it to everybody. What I got out of it was too hard, and that's why I thought, well, I could post it somehow. But it's funny you mentioned Martin Buber, because this is stuff I don't remember. When I went to Brandeis, the most famous professor there in Jewish history department was Nachum Glaser, who was he's a big name, and he came to Brandeis after the war, and he taught that like every freshman had to take his introductory course, Modern Jewish Thought, which most of it we didn't know anything about it. And that's why I try to pull out my I and Thou. I couldn't find it, which is Martin Buber's basic work. And then Franz Rosenzweig's The Star of Resumption, which also talks about that dialogue. It's a dialogue thing. And I just reread some of that. And then I'd also thought about Spinoza, who technically was discommunicated from the powers that be in Netherlands Jewish community in the late Renaissance period, after they had fled Portugal for fear of the Inquisition, stuff like that. So in reviewing that, when the break that they made was with the basic philosophy theology of the ideal that we're all part of the one big universe, and we have to work in the abstract to recognize our oneness with everything. And so what the I and thou and Franz Rosenzweig brought up was that no, we can't ignore that human beings have a fear of death, and they have to deal with that in this life. So there has to be a constant dialogue between the creator and the creation and what's going to happen, but that still precludes recognizing that there's a creator in the sense that we see it in the Old Testament. And when we look at it from the point of view of a fear-inducing rules from the top down kind of deity, it is a turnoff in the modern world. And that's sort of what Albert Einstein talks about, the whole thing, religion and science and all that early man was trying to figure out why they were there, and then how to get along with each other. And most of early religions were based on fear, motivating through fear.
Right.
And that's what we don't have to do anymore. And then he talks about what so Albert Einstein was famous as a Zionist, as a humanitarian, but he did not subscribe to God the way he was taught it in Cheder when he was young. However, this one quote, he says, he thanks his lucky stars that he was born into this group. And why? The main things that are taught from the Torah that come in is that the focus is on life and everything. And this is what we always talk about, especially we are here to live life, and the individual is important, but the individual cannot survive without the community. And the survival and the living life of the whole community is dependent on the individual and vice versa. And that's what to take about. And one of his last comments was they had a little blurb in here. This book is called, I'm sorry, just quickly to the people, The World as I See It, which Einstein wrote in German in 1934. It was translated in 1935. It'd be fascinating to read some of his little things about Zionism that I didn't get to, because, if he saw what was going on now and everything. So one of the last little blurbs in here is the difference between Christianity and Judaism. So he says, take the Torah, take that, don't take the Apocrypha, don't talk about the Revelation, forget all the prophets and all Jesus and all of that. But the Torah is 5 books of Moses is a very good guide for humanity in how to live, is basically what he said. So I think
I ask you when you bring up having this dialogue with God per se, what's the nature of this dialogue? Is it words?
Well, that was according to what I just read about Rosenzweig. Again, I couldn't find my college notes from 1972. So a lot of it didn't stick with me the way I guess I hoped it would. But I think the ultimate answer is you can be a Jew without believing in God. You have to, But then there's the relativity of it. Going back to what Barry said, it depends on who you ask. The real question is, who has the right to decide? Who has the right to be the arbiter of whether one is a Jew? And those people who gave up Judaism and said they weren't, well, Hitler didn't believe them, because his definition of what a Jew was different. So
right.
This
And
is
so
what the struggle is. Every person has to do this struggling for themselves, but it does have an impact on the whole. And that's just maybe a dichotomy we have to live with. We'll never get around it. And that's why we're constantly questioning. We are the people of questioning, like you said. It's not finding the definitive answer. It's to continue asking questions.
I'm not sure that, we're shifting this to the who is a Jew thing. And I think that the subject of today was supposed to be God struggling, which is not unique to Jews.
Yeah. And
So
I don't know, for
but
me,
in the context of Judaism 101, it started with saying, can you be a Jew and not believe in God?
Right.
but
I'm sure you consider yourself a Jew, Woody, even though you
let's hear Sarah.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
I just want to say that none of us knows what God is. Nobody knows what God is. So starting from that place, for me, it's more of a pattern. Being a historian, I look at history and I see a plan unfolding. And that's what gives me faith that there's something, because I don't know what it is. None of us know what it is. Moses had a glimpse of the hind parts. I don't, Abraham didn't see anything. He talked to God somehow, but we don't know what God is. We just feel that there has to be one source that everything came from, that we all came from creation. So for me, it's more of an unfolding of history that convinces me that it's not just chaos. Out of the chaos is an unfolding story. And when I look at the history of the Jews, it's clear to me that there's something unfolding. So I just want to put that in because, you know, we wrestle with, do we believe in God? We don't even know what God is. Do we? I mean, I'm asking the question now, do we?
I think traditionally, the traditional answer in Hebrew, if you read through the Torah, it's evident by the very many ways that we do and don't name God, that there's an elusiveness that's definitely intentional. And when we get into what Craig brought up, the Vahavta, that's where it really kind of comes home because it kind of throws it back to you. It's the wording in Hebrew is actually quite interesting in that way, how that does that. So we'll leave that for a little bit, but I just wanted to I put that in the chat that historically, even Jews who maybe wholeheartedly wanted to renounce and say, I don't believe in this one God and I'm giving up my religion because now I believe in yours or whatever, too bad. They were still persecuted. Didn't work. So, Yehuda, go ahead.
I'm just thinking back this conversation this afternoon that I told you was your thinking was just brilliant about it. And you can correct and add to what I'm going to see what I remember from it. But you seem to suggest that, we can look at whatever this concept is as the highest aspiration of who we can be. And that's the upper level. And we're striving toward being that because we are in the image of, never getting there because of the humility of being a human being who is frail and fragile and unable to actually attain all the heights, and yet having that image up there and aspiring to the ramparts basically is something that's unique to us because we don't have to believe in that, and yet we still believe that there's this idea of being a better person. Did I completely mangle that, Aviva?
No.
No, I'm putting it in the chat. That is the essence. And it goes hand in hand with a few other concepts in Judaism that the unattainability does not absolve you.
Right.
So,
of course.
Right. Because if we strive to be God, well, we see where that leads us politically all over the world. That is a terrible concept. But we aspire to be God-like, and God tells us how to be, right? We have like very, very clear guidelines are not really easily mistakable. So even I have another great little story, but I don't want to read it because I really want to hear other people. So I want to hear other people and then I'll share one more little story. Barry, go ahead.
So I find myself intrigued by how we relate to people who want to leave Judaism. So one thing is excommunication. So there is such a thing as excommunication, but it's it depends on who you believe in. If you belong to a certain sect, you can excommunicate somebody from your sect. You could tell somebody, don't show up at KBS because you're not wearing a mask or whatever it is. That's not exactly excommunication. When someone has chosen to attend another religious group, we don't consider themselves not Jewish. There's a lot of Jewish Buddhists, and we're very comfortable with Jewish Buddhists. We are not comfortable with Jews who believe that Jesus is the Messiah. When a Jew says, I think that Jesus is the Messiah, most of us, I think, say that means you're no longer Jewish. Now, there's no strict thing like that. And we have had Jews for Jesus who have participated in Kona Beth Shalom activities, but we do not consider themselves, I don't know how we consider themselves. It depends who's running the
Well, we don't count them as minyan.
Okay. Well,
That's
it depends.
a pretty simple thing. We do not count them as part of a minyan. We
Right,
don't
but-
call them up to Torah.
Right. So that has been our practice. That's not necessarily, there's a lot of people who are not Jewish, who attend Chabad, but they don't go up to the Torah. So, but it doesn't say in our bylaws that if you're a Buddhist, but your mother and father were Jewish, you can come to the Torah.
But our personal bylaws of our little community here are not, we are not at liberty to create bylaws that include anything like that because it is a very un-Jewish concept.
A lot of people who are Buddhists are very Jewish, and we consider them Jews.
There's a strong
And that's-
connection, and I think that the desire to eliminate the concept of the historically difficult concept of God with all the ways that religions or the institutions of religion have been responsible for so many conflicts in the world, it's clear to see that. So that's a separate, it's a separate thing, but in terms of being a Jew, it's if you are, it's who you are, and it's always there.
Right. So there's a number of Jewish Buddhists, and being a Buddhist for a Buddhist does not necessarily mean that they are religious, that they believe Buddha is God. They don't believe Buddha is God.
No,
No,
that's
Buddha's
that,
not.
but so that's the difference. If you are a Christian, you worship Jesus as God.
Right.
If you're a Buddhist, there is no concept of God.
That's right.
It doesn't exist. So
That's-
one is idolatry and the other is not idolatry. Well, although there are idols in Buddhism, but if you're not worshiping the idols and you're just following some of the teachings of Buddhism, you're not committing idolatry, and that's a big difference.
Right.
Craig has his hand up. Oh, go ahead. After Barry, Craig.
No, so
Right.
That's what I was saying.
I know that the subject is not necessarily who is a Jew, but I'd like to be a Jew like Barry because he defined it pretty well by my standards that we can accept a lot of things, but if you accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior, you are a Christian, and good luck with that. So the other thing which my generation grew up with is the line that you can run, but you're going to be in the line with me at Auschwitz, just like the other Jews. But that's sort of a sick thing too, because now we're letting Adolf Hitler decide who a Jew is. That's pretty sad state of affairs, but a political reality at the time.
Well, what a statement.
Yeah.
Alan?
Well, I would respond to a couple of things that were said. First, as far as the Jews for Jesus, if their mother was Jewish, they are Jewish by our definition.
Absolutely.
Whether we accept them into our community is our choice, but they have no choice about being Jewish. But I also say, if we're going to say Buddhists are okay, but Jews for Jesus aren't, what about the Hasidim who believe that Rabbi Schneerson was the Mashiach?
Yeah. That's a good point.
Have his picture on their wall of nothing else in their house, but his picture is on their wall. Is that any different?
No, I don't, not to me, it's not.
But they're still Jewish.
Yes, but Hasidim also, if you go to Christianity and you're a Jew, Hasidim also still say you're Jewish. You're just a lost Jew. And that's they don't believe that you are not Jewish. At least Chabad doesn't.
Well, so we are going to have a whole session on who's a Jew, who is a Jew. I
Right,
promise,
which
because
is
there's a
great.
lot of nuance there, and especially how Orthodox families treat family members who intermarry, which is a whole different thing. So I don't want that to be the subject today. Let's move to the next slide because the conversation will go in that direction. Just a second. Am I sharing? Yeah. Okay. Uh-oh. My slide moved. Can everyone see that?
No.
We can hear you though. That's
Is the slide there and just halfway
I
broken up?
see it, but I can't see the top. I don't
Okay,
know if
let's
you have it
just
enlarged
read
on
it.
your screen.
Jacob was left alone. Jacob was left alone, and a figure wrestled with him until the break of dawn. When he saw that he had not prevailed against him, he wrenched Jacob's hip at its socket, so that the socket of the hip was strained as he wrestled with him. Then he said, "Let me go, for dawn is breaking."
It's not responding. I'm really sorry. Okay, it's not responding. Do you have this slide you can read? Just to read it, Yoda?
Just did.
You just did.
No, there's another. That's
Oh.
yeah. Let me try one more time. I don't know why this is happening. It's frustrating. Okay. Okay, one more time. Slideshow. Nope, it's still happening, so I won't be able to do it. Okay, I will read it. The next slide says,
Then Jacob said, "I won't let you go unless you bless me."
oh. What?
Said the other, "What is your name?" He replied, "Jacob." Said he, "Your name shall no longer be Jacob, Yaakov, but Yisrael, for you have striven with beings divine and human, and you have prevailed, and have prevailed. Genesis 32:25-33. And from
Whose
this,
hip?
the whole concept of God struggling came from this portion, which fortuitously happens to be this week's portion.
Whose hip got strained? Jacob's or the angel's?
Jacob.
Jacob, which is why we can't have filet mignon.
Right.
Right.
This
So,
is
it was Jacob's hip.
the sciatic
Jacob,
nerve was eliminated. It's not kosher from this.
but then it says that that Jacob prevailed. You know,
Jacob. Well, you can say Jacob beat God and God walked away, but reality is that it was a fight to the draw, and Jacob says, "I won't let you go unless."
I thought it said somebody prevailed.
Yes.
Who prevailed?
Jacob prevailed. The question is, what did we win? Apparently just a new name. Yisrael.
Okay, but that's the crux of the story, because we as Jews are known as Bnei Israel. And the name he was given was
God wrestler.
Israel, one who struggles with God. Now, that before there was a term Judaism, and before Judah became a character in our stories, Bnei Israel was how we were known. Now, an interesting thing is that Jacob's and Israel are used interchangeably in the for the foreseeable future in the continuation of the stories, which has not happened to anyone else who was given a new name. When Avram was changed to Avraham and Sarai was changed to Sarah, that's who they became. But Jacob received this name and had to live it. and as do we. We are known as the sons of Israel.
And therefore, we can say that, because Jacob wrestled with an angel, it has tasked us as Jews to do the same.
Right.
If we want, I am going to read the words of the Ve'ahavta. Craig, are you there? This is for you. Okay, I hope Craig is there. This is for Craig. I don't have it on the screen because I'm going to read it in English.
I am here.
All right, so
You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, and all your soul. And these words which I command you this day, you shall bear as a sign upon your gates, upon your doorpost. Wow, I can't believe I got that far. Keep going.
all right, so yes, but
Teach it to your children too.
very important. But once the wording starts, every word in Hebrew ends with the cha sound. That is the your. Lev is heart. Levavcha is your heart, or levavech. So what it really says in English is, oh, thank you, Alan. You shall love the eternal, your God. Notice that. With all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. Let these words, which I command you this day, the words that I command you words. I don't command you to believe in me or to profess belief in me. Let these words, which I command you this day, be upon your heart. Teach them constantly to your children, and speak of them in your home and on your way, when you lie down, when you rise up. Did we miss anything?
Yes, we missed the most important thing.
Hold on. But no, I'm not saying did we miss anything. In your home and when you're away, you're either home or you're away from home. You're either lying down or you're rising up. Bind them as a sign upon your hand, and let them be symbols before your eyes. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Your.
Oh, but there is a problem. And the problem is English.
Yeah.
The problem is English because this is all singular. In English, the word your applies singular and plural. And this prayer is you.
Yes. Thank you for
the
pointing that out.
singular.
That is the very important thing. It's a very individual prayer. It's a very individual saying that includes absolutely everything. Okay, it's the ultimate of merisms. When you lie down and when you wake up and everything in between, teach them constantly to your children. How do you constantly teach something to your children? You just talk at them all day? You keep them awake all night long? No, you live it. You don't teach to your children by just speaking. You teach by living. So in essence, all of that is there, but the command to first profess is not there.
Is the you plural or singular?
Singular.
Singular.
All throughout is singular. Now, the next part that we read, and in most of the Machzorim I checked, goes to the next part, and it will come to pass, if you will listen diligently to my commandments, this becomes plural. Okay? Tishme'u. Okay? And it will come to pass if you, plural, will listen diligently to my commandments, which I command you this day, to love your God, to serve me with all your heart, with all your soul. Again, plural. Okay? So I don't need to read the rest. It because after that initial statement, after the unity in the Shema and the clear instructions that every moment, whether you're sleeping or waking, whether you're coming or going, whatever, you're living it, and then it becomes the plural. So
Right.
if
You
you
have to
bring,
go, you
if
have
you
to
don't
take
bring
yourself.
your godliness into the plural, nobody's allowed to ask you. That's the point. Somebody brought this up. Who's the one who's asking? Who's asking you, Yuda, if you believe in God? You, Barry, if you believe in God. You can say anything you want. Because I think over a lifetime that changes.
So
There
what
isn't
just
one.
happened is that we went from the first section of the prayer, which is all in the singular, to a plural. So basically, we have to take our individual decisions to do the first one and be in community to do them.
Alice?
And actually, this is full circle because the very first slide that we had was Jewish people have a wide spectrum of belief. Their views are individual, not collective. It's about what you do, not what you believe, but you do.
Okay, Alan?
This brings to my mind something we've discussed frequently in the Torah study, that when the expression, when the phrase or the word Elohim is used for God, and Aviva, you're always pointing out that's plural. That
It's plural.
and it raises a question then of which, if this is the idea of the V'ahavta is pointing to each of us individually, are we pointing back to a multitude of God?
My interpretation, the way I understand it, is that God is a universal, one universal God that everybody experiences differently. But what we experience differently should not affect how we act in community. That's the connection. There's unity, then there's individualism. How it manifests is what's different.
That's you read my mind. That's exactly what I was going to say.
All right. As soon as I figure out how to unpin Alan, I'm calling on Craig, but let's see. Oh, I know how to do this. Just a second. Okay. Oh, remove pin. There it is, right in front of my eyes. Craig.
I was just loving this God that you are describing. You do you. It's like that song, you do that voodoo that you do so well. But answer me this, if that's the case, the thing that turns off a lot of Jews is the ritual. We have to repeat this, we have to do this, and so much repetition, so much community talk. Say these words, repeat after me. So how do you square all the ritual that follows?
I'm going to call on Courtney and then you. Go ahead, Courtney.
Barry,
Oh, and then Barry. Okay.
Barry.
Courtney, Barry, Yuda.
Courtney first. Go ahead.
When Alan was pointing out the singular versus plural and then used the term pointing back, it made me think of when you're pointing at someone, you have three fingers pointing back at you. So I think there's some play there.
Interesting.
That's good. And speaking of play, when Nathan and Joseph would sing their song, they would sing the V'ahavta, and they would translate it into English. And you shall teach this diligently, gently unto your children. So diligently, you are saying you do it day and night. They chose to emphasize the gently part. That's how you teach your children.
Nice. I like that. Who else? Yuda, you had your hand up too.
I'll pass.
Okay. I have one more sweet little thing to read. And this comes from wait, no, I'm gonna not speak now till the name comes back to my brain.
let me just add one thing, that we keep shifting. I'm going to sort of reiterate what you just said, Avi, but we keep shifting when we're using Elohim. Sometimes we say Elohai, which is basically my God, or sometimes that is a contraction of the plural. The whole nature of us, being tasked to do the first part of a hafta and take that into heart, and then that we can't actually get it done unless we do the second part, which is doing it with all of us together. And that's always been our task. And Jews are a community religion. We have never been, even though we have individual views, as we hear on this screen tonight, and every single time we gather, we still do things collectively because we believe in the greater understanding that we are made in the image. And that image is an imperfect image for each of us. And yet we have something to aspire to.
What does Eloha mean? The singular of Elohim. It sounds like aloha, but
I do
Eloha,
know.
does Eloha have any meaning?
Is there a singular version of that word? Like in English, there are some words that are always
El,
plural and singular the same.
I
El is
know
the singular.
I know of the word Elohai and El. I don't know where there's a reference to Eloha. If you
But
find one,
Elohai is either my, or it's also a contraction of Elohim.
right.
I'm going back and forth looking around because I think that I have learned that Einstein has my answers. I think he makes the most sense to me. And circulating around so many things we're talking about, because it's so eloquent, I just wanted to start out with. But I'm going to go backwards because we've been talking about the value of the individual, So he has this section called personality, society and personality, if you'll indulge me. Without language, and then somebody earlier said, how do we do this with language? Without language, our mental capacities would be poor indeed, comparable to those of the higher animals. We have therefore to admit that we owe our principal advantage over the beasts to the fact of living in human society. The individual, if left alone from birth, would remain primitive and beast-like in his thoughts and feelings to a degree that we can hardly conceive. The individual is what he is and has the significance that he has, not so much in virtue of his individuality, but rather as a member of a greater human society, which directs his material and spiritual existence from cradle to grave. And I'm going to jump ahead. But on the other hand, he says, only the individual can think and thereby create new values for society. And they even set up new moral standards to which the life of the community conforms. So we're getting stuck as we've come up with these values that we've all conformed to from the time of Mount Sinai when we got these laws. But who is interpreting them now? And that brings me to what Sarah said, that something's unfolding, we're unfolding. If you can believe that as a species, we can mature and evolve. A lot of what he's talking about here is that the idea of a singular God up in heaven like that was a step above the paganism, but it was from primitive human beings that did not even have the brains that we have to understand the meaning of their life, and they used fear to get people to conform to the moral necessities required to live in community. Because without it, we had anarchy and chaos, right? And the worst instincts, the evil inclinations in human beings is when we forget that humanity and go back to that more primal state, I think. And I think that makes sense to me. So in terms of what Judaism brings to it, and so this question, people would always ask, Einstein, is there a God? What is it? The very first line of this book is, what is the meaning of human life or of organic life altogether? To answer this question at all implies a religion. Is there any sense, then, you ask, in putting it? I answer, the man who regards his own life and that of his fellow creatures as meaningless is not merely unfortunate, but almost disqualified for life. But he doesn't see the God the way the fire and brimstone God that we see, because he sees God as part of the whole mystery of the universe, which ultimately brings to what he studied in physics and why I think I subscribe to this notion of the universality of this energy that we're all part of. Did we come from God, or did God come from us? Or what, that there again is what are we saying the word God is? And to some degree, he's the idea of a supreme being or the source of everything is implied in the mystery of the universe. That's what he was interested in his whole life. And I guess, he's sort of saying in more modern times now that humanity has evolved from having to just focus on fear as a way to create the stability of a non-chaotic moral society. And where we all get hung up in all this is what makes a Jew and what doesn't. Do you keep the Shabbos? Do you turn the light on? Who's a Jew? If their mother's a Jew, is their father's a Jew? That's all our interpretation that we have imposed on this structure.
My guess is that the next session is going to be who is a Jew. It's come up so much in this particular topic that obviously we have to explore it more. So I task every one of you to do a little bit of the background of reading about who is a Jew. I mean, we know the bare rudiments that we've known all along, and yet I'm sure there's tons of stuff that's written about it.
I'm gonna, if we decide as a group that we want that to be the topic, I will send out a wonderful video of a rabbi in a congregation in Texas who has a good, I thought, of all the things that I've watched, I thought it was the clearest and best, at least explanation of who is a Jew in the eyes of the different denominations. So just
There's
a
also
thing to
that
watch.
amazing cartoon of Rabbi Sachs, which is fabulous.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. I will send out, if we decide, I think, Nella, did you have your hand up? Kind of looks like you did. Okay.
I really felt what Ruth Ellen had to say. I thinking, we're saying God. I mean, God was here, a creative spirit or whatever was here before we were even in existence, and will be after we're gone. This earth of ours is gone. And I like that energy is not, it's recycled. Different kinds of energies become other kind of energies, even with an explosion. All that energy, there's no loss of energy. It's always there. And that is what gives me great source of, no matter how we screw up our lives or this earth and anything else, I just feel that there is still a God, that energy, whatever it is, I don't understand it, but it's there. That's who God is. Energy.
You indulge me for one more sentence, because I just think Einstein put this so beautifully. This section is called the Jews and what Judaism means to him and all that. There's just so much here, I can't believe it. But he says, Judaism seems to me to be concerned almost exclusively with the moral attitude in life and to life. I look upon it as the essence of an attitude to life which is incarnate in the Jewish people, rather than the essence of the laws laid down in the Torah and interpreted in the Talmud. To me, that is Einstein, the Torah and the Talmud are merely the most important evidence for the manner in which the Jewish conception of life held sway in earlier times. Judaism is not a creed. The Jewish God is simply a negation of superstition, an imaginary result of its elimination. It is also an attempt to base the moral law on fear, a regrettable and discreditable attempt, he says. Yet it seems to me the strong moral tradition of the Jewish nation has, to a large extent, shaken itself free from this fear. That's what we're all wrestling with. We're shaking ourselves free of it. And there are a lot of people who think that we're becoming less Jewish. And I won't accept that, because I'm the one who's going to decide how I think about being Jewish. It is clear also that, quote unquote, serving God was equated with, you'll love this, Aviva, serving the living. The best of the Jewish people, especially the prophets and Jesus, contended tirelessly for this. So anybody who does anything else or is going to put strictures on other people based on their own sense of what's right cannot have the moral high ground, in my view. But if we have people in the world controlling the physical resources and so on that want to enforce otherwise, that's a conundrum we have to deal with in a more pragmatic way. Thank you all for indulging me.
Alan?
I think in the spirit of the tradition of asking questions, I don't have an answer. I just want to pose a question that if there is indeed a God, and we're told in the Torah and in our history and our liturgy how we are supposed to revere, respect, love, teach, all the things that we're supposed to do, what is God's responsibility? Is God responsible to do anything for us? When we ask for something, or do we really expect, should we really expect it back of God?
Okay, who wants to answer that one?
I don't know, but I recorded it.
Okay, so I have this is coming out of left field, but it'll meet your question that's up there in the air as far as how I look at it. If we don't have a concept of God, then we don't have an upper limit of where humans can go, and no restraint on human behavior. So what you see throughout history is when terrible things happen, they tend to be when people put themselves above God, or worse, take the concept of God, define it, and use it in some way. And that's the problem I think we all have with this, Jews have with God struggling, anybody who struggles with this concept. Humans can only rise so far. If you go above some certain line and you lose that humility that there's always something above you as a human, it's it's bad. And we willingly, as a society, look at Western society right now, look how easily we give up humanity to worse things than the concept of a God.
But most wars are fought in the name of God.
Right, because that's an understanding of leaders, or I'm not going to say leaders, I'm going to say despots, or whatever term we want to use that is not a common word in the newspapers today, so we don't imply one particular person. But that's the problem exactly, Barry. When somebody says, I got a claim on who, I got an understanding, I'm going to tell you, and then I'm going to control you that way. That's always been the problem with the institutions of religion. The God concept, that's why it's important for the concept of God to be an individual concept. Because if you have to fit your concept of God into what someone else tells you, what other control have you relinquished?
It's not that easy.
Of course not.
That easy. Because, the father who kills his daughter for an honor killing believes that that's the right thing to do. And he's not, that person happens to not be Christian, not be Muslim or anything else. Might be a Hindu, it might be, somebody using a different system. And he thinks that that's the righteous thing to do. And when the president says we need, when the president of Ukraine says that we need to defend our country against Russia, that's the right thing to do. I mean, people use the name of God to get away with murder.
Exactly. But people willingly relinquish their moral essence because sometimes it feels cumbersome, and it feels comforting to have someone else tell you And then once they tell you, all you have to do is live up to that. But if somebody is the one relating what morality is to you, there's a limitation because they're human too. And I think that humans' sense of morality is much stronger. If you want to call that your individual God, you can call it whatever you want, but humans have a sense of morality that can be co-opted. Institutions of religion have done that very well historically over the years.
There are animals that have been found to be humane, for lack of a better word, towards other animals. And they will be, I forget what the word is, but they will care for other animals even at great expense to themselves. Now, we don't know if animals believe in God. They may, for all we know. So that's not it's not a requirement to be human to have a sense of ethics and of doing the right thing. We don't see it that readily in most, animals, but there are animals who do this. So I don't think there is an answer. I think that's part of the nature of God, that we're going to always have these questions, and we're always going to. To me, the issue is don't take ourselves so seriously, and don't take God so seriously. If you want to tell, if you want to make God laugh, you tell him your plans. That's very true. So this whole discussion should be taken in very lightly. That's the best way to appreciate this discussion. It's meaningful as long as we keep it light.
I see Marshall's hand up. Do you mind if I call on Marshall first? And
No,
then
I've been waiting a while.
Okay, then you and then Marshall. Go ahead.
Because I want to address something that Barry said, because otherwise it might get separated from something else. And Marshall, I want to hear what you have to say too. But in relation to the peoples of the book, you mentioned the Muslims and an honor killing and all that. Judaism is very different than the other two, because in reality, the covenant was made with all the people at Mount Sinai. The other two religions, Christianity and Islam, were one person, Jesus and Muhammad. It wasn't a covenant for the people. That is a really different thing, because if it's a covenant for the people, we're all here as community to support each other. And that is the strength of why Judaism has held all this time, and why Judaism will never, ever vanish, because there is a community, and there's always been a community. It's not about one person.
Thank you. Marshall?
Yeah, if I'm not being totally irrelevant, I look at the anthropological record and I believe in evolution. I don't know if that means I've got to be an atheist, because I see a great force I don't understand, which I call Mother Nature. And I'm not sure that's not the same as some people call God. It's the force that brought about life on Earth, the reason we're here, the reason that mankind evolved from among all the animals on Earth. Mother Nature gave man a pretty big brain, and he understands he's got to live in a way that he can live with other people without killing them all. We haven't really learned that lesson yet, I think, but we understand it's probably there. So those are the thoughts that go through my mind. And if it's totally off subject, apologies.
Many have written on this subject. Rabbi Sachs put it very succinctly with this issue of science, the dichotomy of science and religion. It says science explains the how, but it doesn't explain the what. Excuse me.
The why.
The why. I knew I was saying it wrong. The why. And I mean, that's most scientists who've written about religion don't have a problem with religion. It's an assumption made that scientists are anti-religious, but it doesn't apply to most scientists. They write very well about religion.
I don't know that my attitudes are anti-religious. I accept all the religions if they respect their fellow man and the rights and feelings of their fellow man. Uh, uh, as I say, I'm wondering if Mother Nature and God aren't really synonymous, a semantic difference, and if Mother Nature put in man that he should or must come to understand and respect other ideas on religion. So that that's what I keep trying trying to think about. Thank you for your comments on that.
Well, that's what God wrestling is about. That's our assignment. Our assignment is to always wrestle with the concept. If we ever get to define it, it'll be boring. I mean, that's what keeps us alive. That's what keeps our blood circulating. You know, our heart doesn't just go whoosh and that's it. It has to keep on pumping it. We have to keep on pumping our brains to keep on considering what's right and what's wrong. We have guidelines. A lot of people use religion as a guideline. Some people without religion use God, their concept of God as a guideline. Some people use the sun or the moon or, the tides, the ocean as guidelines. We seek guidelines, but we're always pumping. We have to keep on doing it. That's our assignment. That's why we're here, gathered here today.
He doesn't seem to live anywhere, doesn't seem to do anything.
Sarah, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I'd like to get back to this concept of nature and God. And I'd like to go back to Nella's comment because I've wrestled with this idea at certain times in my life. The problem I always had with nature, Mother Nature being the same as God, is when I asked the question, where did the first atom or DNA strand or molecule or whatever it is that sparked life on Earth, where did that come from? So I'll just leave you with that thought.
There's a lot of scientists who think of different things.
Yeah, there are. And
right. And
go ahead, Barry.
And there's a lot of religious thinkers who come up with different things.
Yeah.
And that's good.
That's the question that I always had to answer. Where did the first thing that sparked Mother Nature come from?
There's no question about it. It came from my mother's lentil soup.
Right.
But
You mean her chicken soup?
As you phrase that question, that brings back my point, whether referring to Mother Nature is synonymous with referring to God, whether people are just have a bit of a semantic difference there.
Well, most religious wars
Where did the force that created Mother Nature come from?
She is the force. Where did or you could ask the same question and use the word God.
Are you talking about when you say Mother Nature, are you talking about Earth or all of creation?
All of creation.
I see.
All of creation.
I see. I understand.
Yeah. We just don't understand, and we could call that God, and not meaning to deprecate in any way.
So
the use of the word.
So if you believe in evolution, then you believe in the Big Bang and that energy as well, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's part of science.
So then I pose the question: what was there before the Big Bang? Was that Mother Nature, or was?
Yeah, it was.
But there was no nature. There was just empty space.
How do you know?
Well, that's what science tells us.
No, it doesn't. Science doesn't say that.
Science doesn't know.
Say that. Science questions that.
Yeah,
it doesn't say that. It questions that.
It's one theory. It's one theory of science.
Right. There's
Okay.
multiple theories, just like there are multiple theories of God. And again, wars are fought over the name of God.
Okay, so the answer then is we don't know.
Right.
So we can't say it's Mother Nature. We can't say it's God. We can just say it's energy.
Yeah, but if you say it's Mother Nature, it may be the same as saying it's God.
You could use
As
anything.
I say, it may be semantic.
But why would we give it a name then if we don't know? I mean, then we're making it into something that we don't know really what it is.
Yeah, no, but we got to call it something.
Why?
It's the force we don't see, and we can't write an equation for it.
I
We
don't
don't
think we should
understand
call.
it.
I don't think we should call it something if we don't know what it is.
Well,
What a struggle.
who determines what is should? I mean, who
Okay,
runs the
okay. I'm
machine?
just
You
being.
can't know. No, I know that, but it goes on and on and on, and that's to me is the essence of the whole discussion. Is that the discussion is
There's
meant
no
to
end. It's eternal.
Right. So in the
So
I'm going to call
Can we agree that it's eternal?
there's
Why do
an
we have to
eternal
agree?
I don't know because you just said it goes on and on and on.
Right,
That's
that's all.
eternal.
But we don't know what eternity is.
Well,
Right.
it's no beginning and no end. That's what it is.
Well,
and that
that's
is a description of
ultimate
God
mirror,
in
And
many
that is a
Jewish sources.
description of God.
That's the
Bel-
ultimate mirror.
And of Mother Nature.
Can I just interject?
Ay,
I want to interject the Hebrew term beli reshit, beli tachlit, without a beginning and without an ending.
yes.
Right. So we sing that in the Adon Olam. No
Adon
beginning and no
Olam,
ending.
Asher
Right. So
Nolah.
Ruth Allen has been like
That's what it is.
really
Yep.
needing to say something. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, it just goes back to what I said, because I was going to address when Marshall first used, excuse me, the word semantics. It's the same what I said to Woody when we said he doesn't believe in God. I would disagree. It's how he defines God. I don't think he's a nihilist. He doesn't believe there's nothing that embraces all of existence, all the energy. There's no better word. And that's the Sarah's point too. Why do we need a name for it? Why do we need it? This is what's allowed us to evolve. And this is what creates that balance between the individual to think about these things, but then it has to be applied to all of the species, all of the world, the humanity. Human beings, as I said earlier, with his Einstein's little description of why we are quote unquote above the other animals at this point is because of our ability to evolve language up to this point. And this is my greatest epiphany from when I was 26 years old, and it's true. Language is the representation of experience. It'll never be the experience itself for any individual, but it's the closest we can get to using our senses, all of them. But the main one that humans have is through the spoken and written word to create empathy, to get understanding, to have a conversation and get along with the rest of our community. And so that they can sort of understand, can each understand where the other one is coming from.
So,
Otherwise, we're
Ruth
just
Ellen,
going, throw a
you're
banana at me,
You're exactly right, Ruth Ellen. You're exactly right. And there is a value in pursuing this. And we're not just making fun when we say that is it God or is it nature or is it beginning or is there a big bang or not. Religion and belief in God has led to great things. It has led to great artwork, great sculpture. It has led to great governments. It's also led to terrible things as well. But it's a powerful force. It can be used for good. It can be used for evil.
Yeah.
It can be used for a lot of things. When we play with it, we're playing with electricity. Electricity is very powerful. You touch it, you get a shock. It can kill you. The ocean can kill you, or it can take you from one continent to another.
It's
So
a
these are not little details. We're not chit-chatting about silliness. It's not silly. I mean, we can get silly about it. And it's important we don't take ourselves too seriously. But this discussion is valuable. This leads to great things.
Yeah, and I really appreciate Marshall's input because he got us going. That's
Right.
great. I hope you continue.
Right.
I'm calling on Courtney because he's been very patient.
These circlings of like trying to define what is God, where is God and nature and the constant like circling of what we don't know. What I've found is humans have a tendency to find discomfort in what we don't know and what we can't understand because there's this desire for control. When we understand, we get a sense of control and then we feel comfortable. But it's when we're comfortable is when we're complacent and there's no learning and the complacency. So it's when we're uncomfortable is when we're capable of learning. And so we end up with this cyclical back and forth of not understanding, being uncomfortable, and whether it's whatever topic you want it to be, uh, it just keeps going around and around. And I think that's why Judaism, I think my understanding anyway, is that we like to play in that like let's talk about it, let's unfold it, and we may have an idea or an understanding today, but tomorrow everything can change, and that's okay too. And because it's constantly going in circles, and we value that attempt at learning.
Very
Wonderfully
nice.
So
said.
much wisdom. Wow.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Who else has their hand up? Because we're going to start wrapping up.
I have to pipe in only to answer Courtney too, because what she talks about complacency and all that, again, I think a lot of that, it comes out of fear. And when you get complacent as well, if you feel comfortable, how is one feeling comfortable? They're feeling physically comfortable, I guess. You know, they don't seem to want for anything, but they're not reaching beyond the basics. And to keep questioning requires the need for constant attention, which is when we can even bring us back to the Via Hafta. So what I see in the stories of the Torah, in those rules, is a way to keep oneself focused attention on the higher thoughts and ideals that matter. And why, you know, and I here's, you know, how Einstein describes Jewish ideals, the pursuit of knowledge for its own sake, an almost fanatical love of justice and the desire for personal independence. These are the features of the Jewish tradition which make me thank my lucky stars I belong to it. That's what he said.
Nice.
And that, again, always brings it back to what he finds religious, spiritual to him, is the idea of the amazing wonder and mystery of the whole universe, and that we get to embody, become this life form on this earth at this time and revel in that mystery and have a sense of awe and wonder and want to know more.
We are all
And
seekers.
but when we call back to fear, that's why he keeps going back to the things that we're holding on to, that a lot of people are holding on to, that are leading to these wars and these holy, quote unquote, holy wars and everything, is out of fear. That's the unfolding that we need more of, and the world has to continue to do. Now, what Einstein is saying, he's looking for those great thinkers, the individual thinkers who at different times in life ultimately distill and are able to translate, I mean, to transmit to their fellow human beings through language, the veracity of what of their point of view that may break from the old way of thinking, you know, and that we've seen that over history. Like, and what we're trying to live through, and we keep hailing back to right now, is the age of enlightenment, and where people like Spinoza and all that, and I really strongly recommend, this is, I'm going to give the link, on the Internet Archive, you can download this whole, it's this
Okay,
amazing
you know-
little scribe book, but
Okay, so
Yeah,
we have a
all right.
group, and I think Reba, you might not be on the email. I'm not very good at knowing how to create this group, but I think everybody that's here got the email after the last time. Okay, so we're gonna add Reba, and then we should kind of check around to see what subject we want to do next time. if we decide to do the who is a Jew question, it's not so much discussion, it's information, which is, it's not what we want to do with this group, because we're not deciding who's a Jew. We're talking about that concept, what it has meant. There are some, you can go to each of the denominations' core writings and find out exactly their definitions, which is, it's interesting, but it's not as much discussion as this kind of subject. So I say for the next couple of days, if we want to throw around some suggestions, and certainly Ruth Ellen put the link for that. This would be a good way. I have a link I want to share also for, you know, for the who is a Jew, just informationally, which I thought was a pretty good presentation. And then we'll choose a subject for the next time.
Wanted to say a last thing as the last standing atheist in this group. It's not that I'm an atheist. I'm just a member of God's loyal opposition.
Okay, so I do,
Yehuda. Okay, we got you.
indulge me in my closing story. So does everyone know who Yair Lapid is?
No, I don't.
Okay, so in the Israeli government, there is the opposition, which is not in the majority right now, and Yair Lapid is the head of the opposition. So he is the antithesis to the current government of Israel. And this is a story he tells about his father. And this explains the attitude toward how Israelis perceive the concept of God, in my mind, very well. He says, my late father, he told me while he was in Romania in a little village, a Jew came to him and said, we need one Jew for a minyan. We are 9. We need 10. Can you come over for the prayer? And he went. And I said to him, Abba, why did you go? You're a total atheist. And he said, because the God I do not believe in is Jewish. We are part of something. We have people all over the world who spend a lifetime trying to be part of something.
Yeah,
That's
we've
beautiful.
tried to instill that in our children, you know, when they've gone off living their non-Jewish lives, that they always have a fallback. And that fallback is they're a member of this community and they can always rely on it.
That's beautiful.
And that kind of a story is the reason we are here, to have this group to talk, because that has not left. It doesn't, what you individually feel at a moment in your life, it neither defines you nor absolves you. So that can go a pretty long way.